Yo, third time's a charm. I don't know what's going on with the Wi-Fi or whatever around here tonight, but here we are. Fireball, Friday night, and Fireball is on the inside. Just come back from the movies, watch the new movie Warfare. I'm not going to give any spoilers or anything. Just go watch it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look at watch a preview video. But anyway, go see that movie. So back to the matters at hand. This is an overloaded. I wish I had a scale that would weigh that. Too many grams to weigh on my scale, but this thing is loaded down. Barely closes. You can see it smashing some of the stuff, but we've got a lot of testing to get done tomorrow morning. Well, not necessarily morning, but we're going to try to meet up with Charles somewhere around 8ish and get on the water. It'll be around 50 degrees by the time we get on the water, something like that. And then it's gonna get up to almost 70, I think. So anyway, and less wind. And then Sunday, I don't know if we'll go again or I might go again, but it's going to be pretty windy on Sunday, so we're going to hit it tomorrow. All these baits will be used. Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them in here. The jigs, what you're looking at here is two different layers of chatterbaits, basically. Chatterbaits that are either regular soft plastics or no plastic, and then everything over here has some sort of Z-Man soft plastic on it. And then spinner baits over here, more soft plastics just up and over here to switch around. That's like, so I don't have to go looking around for different, ones. So there's just a little bit of everything, some swim bait stuff going on over here, smaller ones. And then our hard bait section. And that's about it. And there's a few other baits, frogs, topwater stuff, a swim bait. This is like if I get separated from my main tackle box, keep this on you, right? So we've got, I don't even know what we need to or want to talk about. Last night I kind of covered everything we're up to date on and the new swim baits I got. Or actually chatterbait trailers and stuff we were going to try. So nobody's watching right now, but at some point you guys are going to have questions about what I'm using, where I'm using it, or all that kind of stuff. So feel free, if you haven't, to hit the like button, subscribe to Bass Bonsai, and then drop comments below in any video, no matter if it's from last year, whatever. And so this is for those of you that jump on here and you just start watching the live stream and you're watching this right now and you're like, when are you going to put out another bonsai video? Well, no time soon, probably. But if you're also, because I had a few guys and, about every 6 months or so to a year, I'll get a couple guys that will start commenting about the fact that they also do bonsai trees and bass fishing, right? Or, especially like shooting and that kind of stuff and fishing. But I've got several, like a year, 2 years worth of bonsai videos, basically, in the first few years of bass and bonsai. And then I slowed down, and then probably 4 years ago, I pretty much quit messing with bonsai trees in general. I don't plan on completely not messing with them, but I'm definitely not going to be putting out any videos or actually messing with the trees. I still, I've watched like the YouTubers that are doing it and some of the different videos like that. Bonsai Mirai. Of course, if Graham Potter puts out anything, watch him on doing different stuff. And there's a few others. I'm not going to name all the different names. If you know about bonsai, you know about bonsai. But then as far as fishing, that's what we're on. Now, even honestly, as far as BFS fishing, if you're waiting around for BFS videos, that's probably not coming anytime soon. Maybe once we get to like, once the spawn's over, we get past like that spring and you get in that summertime. And sometimes you get that summertime funk going on. It gets so hot that we may hit creeks and streams or something and break out some of the little teeny tiny BFS stuff. But if you have any questions before that happens on BFS, and some of you do, but feel free to ask questions on about which baits, or, if you can't track down a certain bait that you've seen me talk about in a video, you can ask about it and I can try to track down the link for it, but I don't just put my links all over everywhere, because most of the time the stores, especially if it's coming from China, AliExpress, that store is probably no longer going to be available, but those were from AliExpress. These knockoffs, which so far are a letdown to me, I can't figure out how they're supposed to fish them and be so great, but most of the other baits in here all work and are pretty effective, right? So just as far as for the true like BFS stuff, the bonsai stuff, we're kind of into the, I wouldn't even call it, I guess you could call it power fishing, but like the more or less trying to find baits, and not really even patterns, but just baits that like the bass cannot refuse to hit, like trying to fine tune a few different styles to where if you get around fish, you can make them hit that jerk bait, square bill, jig, spinnerbait, chatterbait, and at certain point swim baits, but I'm not going to go probably to that high end also of the swim bait deal. We kind of did that about a year and a half, 2 years, last couple years. Last year I kind of set out, but then a couple years before that, me and Charles were we were on both extremes. You may have seen us in a little creek and stream, trying to fish for those little Georgia Giants, I think Charles calls them, but oversized like bluegill, little panfish fishing. And then also I was out throwing, I ordered a bunch of different swim baits from, I guess I should show you those too, from AliExpress. And I've kind of weeded through, got rid of most of them that I didn't, not that they didn't work, but I just didn't really have a use for them kind of thing. So, we've still got this, oh, excuse me. We've still got this frog that still is sort of a nightmare, but it does work. It does look cool. But I can't find any place to put him, so I threw him with my swim baits. But as you can see, we've got a box full of various hard baits, glide baits, whatever kind of baits. Oh yeah, I don't know if I didn't update anybody on this thing. I kind of added some eyes and some hooks to this. I figured I'd just try it silver before I decide if I want to add any paint of my own or give it streaks or whatever. But that was a very cheap bait off AliExpress. It actually doesn't look bad. It's a little bitty bait. It's not big. Like you can throw this on any, probably medium action rod. That's I think the newest swim bait. And then we got these funky deals that I got them and I'm going to throw them, but probably the cheapest knockoff of a Megabass that I've ever seen, these John Coos. This one came already kind of burgered up. Yeah, burgered up is a phrase. I don't know if it's a word, but it's a phrase. This little dude, I always liked him, but I don't know at what point I'm going to go through some of these and try to weed some out, but this is also one of the new ones that I have yet to even throw. So let's go back through it. And then some of my other baits that I guess they're not really, just like a topwater frog, right? It's not really a swim bait, but what I feel these hard baits, when they're best, is when also like topwater type stuff is like at its peak, is maybe the time instead of, I mean, you can throw a frog, you can throw this bigger, walking style and different stuff. But sometimes if you go just below the surface or the surface waking type to the glide baits and stuff like that, that's when that biggest fish that may not even want to come out and jack with this, like because of frog, like if you're getting frogs up and around cover and grass and stuff and you're throwing that kind of thing, sometimes out in a little more open water to where you would throw some other stuff is where I found anyway that I really can come in there sometimes and really kick in and throw something like these kind of baits around and get just a kind of a bigger bass. Like if I'm out there fishing, I feel the bite's tough, this is the last thing I'm going to resort to. When I feel like everything's trying to eat my baits and I'm like, if I'm losing soft plastics to little dinks, is a thought maybe like, well, let's just throw what size the dinks are and see what's eating the dinks, right? That's basically, that is probably not quite a quarter pounder of a cheese, but right, throw something like that and just see how cannibalistic those beasts are on that given day. So these, I don't know when I'm going to get back out, and these are basically the same bait, just, you know, a little bit, you know, this is jumbo. This one I could honestly probably throw on most of my other rods. This, once you get to this size, that's what the Tequila Bacharach's for. All these bigger baits that, you know, are kind of a struggle with anything other than a rod that's more or less for swim baits. So the average half of these baits in here I could probably throw with just a, you know, a good medium heavy or a heavy action rod. It doesn't necessarily have to be a swim bait rod. And that's a size I really like. I mean, I kept a few of these bigger ones. I think I probably only got 5 to maybe 10 in here that are pretty much, you know, full on, full size. Uh-oh, I buried the little dude. I had him up top because I was wanting to throw him. Just to see. I don't even know what it swims like. It may be junk. So if you guys remember that follow the channel, back when I was buying these crazy AliExpress bait, I don't even know for sure how much money I spent, but I guarantee you, I think I had at least double what you see here, maybe even, probably not triple, but I had a lot of baits. So some of them are the same bait, but just in a different color that I didn't like as well. So what I ended up doing, actually, I traded a lot of that stuff off for, I also did a very brief stint before I got into the GUNSs. I also, or no, actually right after those, I got into aquariums. I still have 3 upstairs, saltwater aquarium. So I traded for some saltwater stuff, different stuff like that on some of the swim baits to a guy that he, you know, wanted to get, I guess, more serious, and that he had like some fishing stuff, but he didn't have a lot. So I hooked him up on some deals, and I got some good deals on some saltwater stuff, basically. So anyway, and there's stuff I didn't plan. I planned on just getting rid of anyway. And I'll be honest, all this stuff right here, I don't know how serious I'm going to be with this, because we're here in the Midwest. Like, we're here in the home of the Ned Rig area, the Finessi, you know, our waters get pressured. Our fish aren't giants like in Texas, Florida, you know, and places further south. So honestly, I feel half the time when I get out there jacking around swim baits that I'm wasting my time, but I feel the size fish I'll eventually catch on that, I can catch with you know, just a properly placed chatterbait or spinnerbait. And then when I do, like this little swim bait right here that you can get like $3.50, it's a Megabass knockoff. Honestly, I think these are really all you need around this area. And I cut them to where you can chop them harder, but you don't have to. You can, the first kind of crazy swim bait bite I got on was just one of these I done jacked up that tail. There must be, or maybe this is a Last Tech and I'm touching it on those. But anyway, I bought a whole bunch of tail. You can get the tails too. And honestly, here, let me rip that off. Hang on a second. It'll be fine, just like that. How many fish have you seen swimming around with chewed up tails? A bunch. So anyway, let's keep that dude up. Keep him riding up in the water column. So yeah, those kind of swim baits around that size, I can see times and places, and I've utilized them in certain times. But to just go out swim baiting only, that's not for me. Kind of like just going out BFS fishing only. I like this. Daybox, could throw anything at them, right? That's why do you use snaps? Because you never know which thing might want to snap on. I hate the thought, but I do it sometimes. You know, just tying on a bait. I don't know, I've done it, and I'm not afraid to do it, but a lot of these baits actually work better with a little freed off the line, so to speak. So like if you tie a direct knot to some of these, and I've actually had worse luck, I'll be honest. And it may be just because of the knots I was using. But in my opinion, the worst thing you can do is tie fluorocarbon to one of these, and I guess let me try to get one. And I'll try to show you what I'm talking about. Let me get one of those swivels if I. Let me see. Here's just one like these oval ones. But what I feel happens, and what? Oh, time out. 1 second. I'll be right back. Hang on. It's hard to show you unless you put one of these like under heavy pull or stress. I don't know if I'll be able to do this or not. Oh shoot, hang on. One more second. I probably won't be able to do it. But what I find is if you try to use one of these, and I'm trying to hold it where I can, but there's a flex. First of all, there's a flex like in the two where they join. I can't do it with the. And then plus if your line gets caught around the edges of that, it could start to cut in. Like all these have a sharp, you know, it's not like a perfectly smooth or rounded off deal. So in my opinion, tying line directly to that is actually worse than tying to a snap and then clipping on to either that or just to, you know, completely take those off. And what I found for me, I used to take all of those off of every bait that I had, hard bait. That thing will not come off. I used to take all of the little swivel split rings, off, and snap directly on. But then most of them, if it keeps this thing straight up in line like that, I tend to just leave those on now. But I don't know how many times that I feel I've had line fail by tying directly onto that. So you take them off, but you've tied directly to this, you kind of take away the freedom of its movement, in my opinion. I just feel that if you choose the right snap, have your line, drag, set, all that like is equal, you're not going to straighten out the said snap. Like is it truly rated for 15 pounds? And you can test them pretty easy. You just get you some snaps and literally what line you're using, tie, snap this onto something that can't move, have your line tied on, and whether you're pulling or shaking or jerking it with 20 pound, like, yeah, you wouldn't want to probably put any snap with a 40 to 60 pound direct braid. If you're gonna do that, then tie directly on. But I usually go 20 pound braid to either 15 or up to 20 pound leader, and then 10 pound braid to either 10 or lower leader. And then like this one, I believe is a size I will go up to 15 pound test with. And then I've got a bigger one that I 20 pound or something like that. But I'm going to knock on wood over here. I've not had an issue with, as long as you don't pay attention to what they tell you. Like if you look one up and it says, oh, it's rated for 10 pound or 20 pound, because a lot of these little bitty dinky ones are rated for like 10 pound, and they probably straighten out with 10 pound. You got to like test it yourself, because it's going on probably a straight pull, but a jerk, a yank, and all that kind of stuff. So just test your snaps, and if you feel comfortable using them, like if you guys see me out there when I set my drags and I'm pulling on my bumper kind of deal, and I'm yanking and jerking, and I've literally tested. I want to say it was this size, but if you guys remember right, we had our little, before I lost Neo, the Nobi, I was literally stuck to a tree, big old branch that was stuck in the mud out in the middle of this pond, and I was pulling and yanking. I couldn't get the line to break. I finally had to wrap around a stick and pulled, and I pulled the whole limb over, and the bait come off. And the blade was starting to bend. The snap on the blade that comes on those Nobis didn't flare out, or the snap that I used. And I'm like, and that was with the 15 pound P-Line extra tough or whatever stuff. And I'm like, well, that was like a test right there with the snap and all that kind of stuff. So Yep, brew tank. Somebody said Fireball. You guys got to take my word for it. It's in there. Like so, right before we left the movie theater. I mean, these it's getting outrageous how much they charge for the large, like a refillable drink, popcorn. They want to try to throw in the candy. I'm like, I don't need candy. I've already been to Dollar Tree. I've got Reese's Pieces, Twizzlers, and a few other things in my pockets. Ma'am, I didn't tell her that, but so for like $20, it's $10 a pop and the thing of popcorn. So yeah, when I leave, I fill it full of either Diet Coke or Coke Zero, and then when I got home, it got some Fireball. So, and it tastes better. The more Fireball you add, the better it tastes. But just don't add too much Fireball. Yeah, going out tomorrow. I'm sort of rigged up, but it's basically just baits I want to test. I just threw them on rods so they're out there. Because what I'll do, I usually always get out there and we'll be in Charles's boat, and I'll usually open this up and then just start grabbing. And before you know it, I've like blew by half the stuff that I didn't even get out. So all I'm going to be testing, I guess I'll show you. I'm testing these. I may have taken it off. I think I may have one of these on one of the rods. I guess I could show you real quick. I am going to want to test these out. I didn't put them on. I've got one of the rods rigged up with that Headhunter, the Nasty or whatever it's called, that big-headed white one, spot remover. But these two are going out. You know what? I am going to show you just what I kind of rigged up. And I just threw them on. Some of the testing will be going on. So let's do that. Hang on, brew tank, thawed it up. Let's do it. So, oh my God. This is going to be hard to do. I've already got the shorter rods all kind of stuck together. So buckle up, hang on. I'll try to get them over in a spot where I can pull out one at a time in a sort of a decent fashion. Now some of these aren't rigged up because if I'm gonna throw, here's the thing, I don't use any of those you guys know what I mean, the cover deals that you put over your baits while they're on the rod kind of thing. I don't use any of that stuff. So I use this to wrap around my rods that I've got the rod sleeve on, but not with the little bungee thing because they'll fly off. So I put my 4 rods that are like that, and then I somewhere about halfway up, I crimp that around them so that nothing will slide off. So I undid that. Now hang on. So let's go, I guess, in no particular order, or is there an order? Now I'm hoping the orange deal's going on, but I'm ready to abandon that if I find out the orange just isn't working anymore, because it's been a couple weeks since I've been out. So on my littlest setup, which is just 10-pound test, and the 802 NRX, I've just got the worm that's just sitting down here. It's gotten stanky and nasty, but I may switch that out. I may just stretch it and go with it. But just a shaky head with that orange worm. If it's ever going to work, it'll work now. And it's really one of those, I don't know if I even throw it. If they start biting on this other stuff, this is sort of just a backup. So that rod could just sit around all day long. But its counterpart, I'm kind of doing that little shootout, so I still got that rigged up. The 803, that was 802 a 10-pound. This is 15-pound, the 803 jig worm and rod, NRX Plus with the Steez Limited. Has the, I guess we could call that the Neon Niobe. The Neon Nobi. And then he's going up against the, here, hang on. One that I made, but I'm leaving these on. But that may come off like real fast. And I get out there and start throwing that stuff around. If I just got a feeling it's on or off or whatever, I may pull those off and rig up a couple of the other, whether I pull out one of the, like the goat cut down, one of those new chatter chatter shad deals in the bigger ones, or one of these. If I think orange is working, I will switch both of those baits, the one I just showed you and this one, to that, and just see if the true Fire Tiger one gets hit any better or not. And that, of course, that's our my favorite chatterbait combo right there, the blade with that Tatula. And it doesn't really matter what reel. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. That new Daiwa S VTW, the Zillion, Steez Limited, or this Tatula, I feel like this one actually probably palms more comfortable than most of them now. And it's got all the right stuff, right? It's the reason it's my favorite chatterbait combo is because of the rod over any reel that I've put on it. So technically I don't have a favorite chatterbait reel or speed for that matter. I like the faster ones, but it honestly 8.3 to 1 or 7.5 to 1. I definitely like that kind of fast though. And this little dude, he isn't, you guys have seen him in a couple weeks ago, the video that he was in. That's the Conquest, and it's for this little dude. So I don't rig up my treble hook baits until I get on the water, but you can rest assured as soon as we get around any of the wood, that's going on this combo because it gets the job done, and it's one of the funnest rods to catch fish on in the first place. So that one. So then on to the bigger stuff. And so I rigged up, and I didn't rig up, it was already rigged up, I just put it on this combo. So our Lew's complete combo, right? I figured we might start calling this combo now the spot remover, because it's basically the same colors as, not this one, but all the like Z-Man spot remover type chatterbaits and stuff have that like silver head and then this kind of color. So right, that's it's a spot remover. But that's the Lew's combo, 6'10", medium heavy. I'm trying it with this spinnerbait, see how I like it spinnerbaits. I plan on also trying some jigs on it tomorrow at some point and see what I think of it just for that all around. But I figured I'd start with that bait because I'm going to be throwing the Trickster and then the SV3s on, I may try them on this one too, but probably on the other Lew's Elite. So might as well just show you that one since that's what I just talked about. So the bait I'm going to start with is that I just want to see, I'm sitting there looking at that bait and I'm like, you know what, I have not even thrown that color yet this year. And that is probably the color that was my favorite when I was really on a good spinnerbait bites in that sort of semi-clear water. But that exact bait, actually, you can tell by how chewed up it is with that color skirt, which is what it comes with. And then just that's our Meredith bait. I bought the whole like, how many did I buy? The 50 count or the 100 count or whatever. I bought 50, I think, of each size in that color that matches up perfect to this. And so I threw it on our Elite TI. I'm gonna try and see if that color is working or not. I can switch out real quick if I need to, but just to get started, and I have it out already rigged up. Which ones do I want to go? Oh, let's just get this one out of the way right here, because this has nothing on it, but it's 100% going out. This is a true, actually, first time I will have gone fishing with this rod this season, which is kind of crazy that it took us this long to get it out. But the Poison Adrena with the new Steez and our new little knobs is finally going to go out. And of course, I'm saving it. I don't have anything on it right now. That Booyah Hard Knocker is going to be the first thing I throw on it, and then I'm also going to switch to spinner baits at some point, or even chatterbaits, and just put it through its paces, tomorrow. I don't know how far I'll get with all the different ones, since I am going to take every rod I own out tomorrow. We're going fishing, but it's a little bit of testing going on too. And then, yeah, I left the chatterbait. Here's this one. So the Dobyns, I still have a chatterbait that I made. I want to hurry up and get it out there, throw it around some wood and stuff. And I've also got the little one sitting right here on top, so I can rig it up, try it, also put some kind of trailer on it. But our Dobyns combo with the Custom Pro is going to start out with chatterbait. I might throw jerkbait on the Poison Adrena first if I feel like for some reason they're not up spawning. They should be I'm hoping they're like right in the middle of spawning is the plan. Like I'm not going to be any bed fit, but I'm hoping like the big females, everything's worked up shallow, and we're going to be throwing, you know, all these stuff up in shallow water around woods. So it's going to be like square bills. Hopefully our new little chatterbaits that, where's the other ones? Oh, I got in the actual chatterbait box. I got all the other ones that are supposed to be weedless. But then we're also going to try, and I rigged up both our dirty jigs. So here's the Tequila Baccarat, and I'm throwing that Matt's mix up. Try that. Couple things, just see how well that color may get bit, but to see how well or not well this thing gets around any kind of cover if it hangs up like the other one did. And then since we do still need to finish out that dude and see how, if that was a fluke, was it the Dobyns rod, was it me, was it the jig, what was it? I rigged it back up, but this time on the Super Destroyer, which I need to get back into what I originally bought this Super Destroyer for, which is throwing different jigs, bottom stuff, right? So we got this combo rigged up with that bait. It already has caught fish. 2 weeks ago, this was a bait that was actually one of them doing good, but we've got it hung up so many times, I was starting to cuss it. I felt like it hung up into wood about as many times as it got bit by a fish, and it definitely felt like it was hung up more than our ATV was, which I was throwing all around the wood on purpose. So I think that's all of them. That's just a start. Start with all those baits, but then willing to go to any of these and to jump to whatever else it may take. I don't know if anything's going to be hitting top water yet, but I might throw like a whopper plopper just to give her a little shot. We got a buzz bait in there. I got all my buzz baits also. But then I also got our new jigs thrown in there. I want to swim around a little bit. And several other, I think I got them all buried. I've talked about them in multiple videos. But this thing is glued. Why are you so glued to the other baits? There's so many strands. There's so much going on with that bait. That's only a 1/4 ounce. I'm just going to throw some of these around, try to fine tune whatever. I've talked about that in the other video. So the ones you saw with jigs on them, I'll be switching out some of these jigs with those rods. Try to keep myself from even using the Super Destroyer unless I've just like, okay, I'm going to use it for spinner baits and, you know, whatever. But the Poison Adrena and both of our Lures for spinner baits, maybe switching back and forth to chatterbaits. But then, of course, our chatterbait rod that we love, the blade, and playing around with just different things. That 803, I want to play around with these, maybe even swimming them around, even though they're not really swim jigs, throwing them around, letting them set a little bit, just swimming around. Like you can take any jig and just kind of slow reel it, maybe hitting bottom occasionally. It's a swim jig now. But these little kind of finessing ones, but they still have a pretty stout hook. See how they react now that how the fish react to them now that I added a little bit of soft plastic to them. Just by themselves, this slenders down into like it doesn't look like nothing. And so other than a little bit of profile, when you actually just stop it on the, like it's the minute you move it, it's like I could watch everything just sucks up tight. And I think it changes too much from like a poofy looking thing, you know, if you're just letting this float. So I think it needs something else is why I added those. But anyway, try those like on the 803, and there's a few other smaller jigs with the hook size, either that or actually a little thinner wire hook that I'm going to play around with the 803. Most of these other ones though will be with the Dobyns 704 or the Tequila Baccarat. And then I still want to try the 704 with spinner baits. Probably not chatterbaits, but I might try the 704 with wherever I've got them, the big blade and maybe a couple of the Z-Man originals or something like that. Just the bigger, heavier stuff like I do with, like, you know, once you get in that 1/2 ounce with a heavy trailer, not so much for the hook sets, but the fact that it's easier just to fling it without, you know, stress of overloading the rods on like the blade. Not really the medium heavy like the Elite TI and stuff, but I don't know, just some of them bigger baits, especially like I just like the Tequila Baccarat. I like throwing those bigger chatter baits. They just, I don't know, kind of like same way I like throwing spinner baits with the Super Destroyer. The Tequila Baccarat, I kind of feel the same when it comes to the big chatter baits. it gives you that same feeling that you get throwing the 1/2 ounce or the 3/8 ounce, just a regular with small trailers on them. That the blade gives me, I get that same kind of feeling with those other ones as you go up, kind of thing. So anyway, any other questions about that? Let's see. Yeah, thank you. I've talked about this briefly. I tried to turn all my combos into combos that I want to fish, so that I like am kind of hard. Like, oh man, do I want to, do I want to throw, the 1/2 ounce chatterbait with this rod and reel or that rod and reel or that rod and reel? Like, I want to give myself those kind of problems, right? To where I've got so many options and they all feel so good because I like this reel and that rod, not like, because I found in the past you'll end up with like that, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Maybe you're still there now, or you've been there somewhere throughout as you've evolved with your fishing. You'll have like, you either start out with the rod and reel or two, and they kind of sucked for a lot of stuff. You might have one little sweet, either weight or bait that you like throwing with it, but you weren't real happy with any of it. But then you end up getting like a good rod and reel, either that way, either that's just the only one you're used to, or you got 2 or 3, but one of them you end up just throwing everything with it because it's just so far, either the rod or the reel, just so much comfort in throwing it. You just end up, the other ones just set around. And I find myself like I would do that. I'd have 5 or 6 combos, but I'd find myself throwing everything on the one rod and reel just because it either was just smoother in the casting, or just felt like when I got hit, the fish stayed hooked on longer, and you just had more the palmability. Just something was better about it. So I'm like, this go around, let's try to build these combos to compete with each other, like for my favoritism, right? So this dude right here. And if you just watched the spinnerbait video I put out today, this dude right here, just because of the noise of the brakes, is my least favorite combo. That guy right there. But honestly, when I was out there casting it, I don't know if I commented on it or not. It casts very well. It fishes very good. Like, it's actually a good thing to have the problem that this is my least favorite combo, because this is an excellent combo. That crazy noise, if it wasn't for that, I would have this kind of right there with the other, Lew's Elite TI or the Poison Adrena. And the rod is close. The reel, it just needs, I wish I could figure out a way to quieten down. It's actually maybe even the lightest reel I have. It's one of them, and it does work everything. I added the drag clicker, and so it's got, everything's good. It just has that noise when you cast it, and can't get away from that. But there's really no way other than switching the reel to make this combo one to have it up there competing with the other ones. Because I'll be honest, if like the TI over this, I'll throw the TI any day, just for the fact that this one is going to be making noises and making me, like, oh my God, I wish that thing was quieter. So it definitely would knock it down a notch, and I would just be throwing stuff, on the Elite over it, because they do roughly the same thing. Even if that one was as sensitive, just the fact that the reel throws it off. And I switched out the big dog here for that fact on this overall size and the handle size. When I had it set up just for swim baits and I had the HLC on it with that bigger 100mm power handle, it kind of limited me to where I felt like I didn't want to grab it unless I was throwing a swim bait. So I'm like, let's fix that. So I put the Zillion back on it, which I could have stuck with the HLC and just went to a smaller handle. But I thought, well, the Zillion's already like set up. I already had all of this on it, all the gold. I'm like, let's just put the Zillion back on it, because it'll kind of help make it that combo that I'll grab it I'll grab it just as easily as I would the Super Destroyer or whatever. If I get into like say the bigger chatterbaits, the big, half ounce, 5/8, 3/4 ounce jigs, stuff like that, I have no issues. It feels like it feels more capable than the Super Destroyer. Touch heavier, but it's like right there. When it had that bigger honking and power handle on it and stuff, I felt like they'd leave that thing behind. The only thing that hinders it now, that I hate to cut it down, since it's a $500 rod that probably could still sell for $350 or so. But if I go shortening it by like a inch and a half, and it's no longer a 7-foot, it's now a 6'10", 6'11", whatever it would end up. But I don't like how long it's got. A swim bait handle to it, and that part is a little, I've never liked real long handles. The Poison Adrena it finally has a reel that I feel like that SVTW reel on it feels like it's equal to my other combos. All of my smaller guys have this, of course, the high-end Steezes on them, so they feel definitely like, the minute I grab them, that's why I'm kind of throwing this NRX 803 with chatterbaits, because I'm like, man, that's just too nice of a feeling combo to not try to get some sort of, let's figure out what moving baits it can handle, if any, the hookup ratio, right? So it may end up just being a small like swim jig type deal, but I'm going to find some baits that I like throwing with that, rather than just like a Texas rig worm, a small just bouncing the jig on bottom type thing on 803. The 802, I'm fine with it, just like I am, because I've got the Conquest for like the moving stuff, 10-pound line. I've got the 802 for that bottom bouncing, super sensitive, shaky heads. If I want to switch out to a drop shop, Ned rigs, like that covers all that. So it's going to be busy enough when the going gets tough. I don't want to go fishing that way. I don't want to go fishing with the shaky head. I don't want to go Ned rig fishing. But if I get out and I'm like, you know what? Like, it's been a half hour, 45 minutes, however long, I can't get a bite. Give me the 802. Give me a Ned rigs. What I start with, I usually call what I call the double shot, not the drop shot. I've talked about that before, where I'll take like I usually will use a shaky head. And I think I've showed you guys that before. We'll kind of rig up a Ned rig on a shaky head, the VMC Finesse Rugby Jig, so it's weedless, and I have that on the bottom instead of a weight, and then I'll rig up whatever you would normally use for whatever on a drop shot, on top, and throw that as what I call the double shot. And I've talked about, I swear that you're basically using whatever's on top like an attractor, because I think it'll pull them from further away because they can see it up in the water column. But once they get there, I think they go for the bait on the bottom that's raising commotion, because I would swear I've done this a few times, and it finally dawned on me probably what's happening. I've gone out fishing, and the bite is so tough, or I'm just sucking at it that day, that I can't get anything to hit. I'm throwing literally like a Ned rig. I'm throwing soft plastic on bottom, the 6 or 7-inch finesse worm, usually that from Z-Man, but some other ones I've had in the past. So you're throwing that little shaky head worm, or you're throwing the Z-Man on bottom, and it's like, man, I can't get a bite. I'm like, well, let's try the double. Like, first your mind would click to, let's try drop shot. I hate drop shot. I'm like, well, let's make it into a double shot. So let me go ahead and, I'll cut. That's when I cut my snap off, and then I basically rig up this little, what I call the double shot, which is simply just doing like you were going to rig up a drop shot. You know how to do the knot, run the line through it so the hook's pointed up the right way, rig up whatever bait you want to try. It could be something as simple as one of these little dudes that ended up turning into trailers, something on top with like a 1/0 or whatever. Or sorry, a 1 or 2 hook, drop shot hook, and then down below, just tie on, instead of a sinker or a clip-on sinker, just tie on your, finesse rugby jig or just a regular TRD Ned head, hook on your bottom soft plastic, whatever you choose. And you could go big too, that like that, if you just thought you wanted, like, let's hook on, I don't know, like say a Zinkers on bottom on a shaky head, but then above it rig up something else. But with the Zinkers, I feel you can pop it and it creates its own drawing power. But like if you go real finessey to small, so my favorite thing to do is a little TRD on bottom on something that is weedless rigged, and then probably a foot above it is just a good guideline. About a foot above that, have on one of these little things that looks like a minnow. So I want a fish up here. I want a TRD down here that they have no clue what it is. Another option would be like one of these craws, nowadays, like one of these on bottom, and you could even have one of these on top. So like do a little double, not the bait itself, or sorry, not the jig itself, but the bait, the soft plastic. You could have a little craw on bottom and then just have one of these on top if you wanted, a little double deal like that down here. Have this thing up there wiggling and this thing going, and then just, pull them, shake them or whatever, double shot. It's a drop shot, but a bait that you're actually fishing like you would on a Ned rig or shaky head on the bottom instead of the weight. And when that happens, this up here is like, and there are fish out here that doesn't even, maybe not even see what's bouncing on bottom or just setting on bottom, and it's coming, and then because when I make that switch and I do that, I'd swear maybe I've caught one fish at the most I've ever caught doing that on this bait up high is 2. What never fails is I rig that up and the bait down here, and because I've used the same bait that I was fishing down on the bottom on the double shot, and then just added a little minnow type deal on top, and this bait starts getting hit. And the only thing, the reasoning I have is that this bait up here is what is getting them there, but once they see that bait on bottom, they divert and go to it. Otherwise, they should have hit that, I would have thought. But anyway, and that's just my thoughts, my take on it, and I prefer a double shot over a drop shot any day. I prefer not to have to do any of that soft plastic stuff. I want them to be hitting on some sort of moving bait, whether it's reaction bite or, you just figure out that right movement and they want to eat it, or you're just so close when you make it so little, they got to eat it. So that's about it. And Brew Tank says, yeah, I hate drop shot too. Oh yeah, and Brew Tank's been asking me these questions, and listen, first of all, I got to finish because I've brought this up 3 times now, I think, in live streams. I keep watching my poor man. I feel sorry for him. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to what reels he's fishing, but Jacob Wheeler, he's got his, oh shoot, I already forgot the name of it, but he's got his own rod lineup, right? Like his name on it. He helped design them, right? The Duckett rods. I forget what the exact name of that lineup is. Is it just a Wheeler, Jacob? I don't know what it's called, but anyway. So we know he's got rods and he's got them in the actions. That's what he says he likes. But I don't know what reel sponsor, if any, he has. I don't even know what reels he's using. But I was watching a video of him out fishing, and I would swear every reel he has is junk. I don't know. And I know somebody's like, oh, he can outfish you with that junk. I know that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is my man has, in my opinion, junk reels that I would be losing my mind. And I would like, there's no way. I'm like, I don't care. You could be like, Charlie, I will pay you, $50, $100 every fishing trip if you go out and use my reels. I'll be like, sorry, partner, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use what I like because I have the enjoyment of it. So this reel is probably quieter than anything I was listening to him fish with. And it's not just his casting. I'm talking about reeling. Like he casts that thing. Sometimes some of his reels are loud casting, but then they're also loud, like crank him in. And that's why I was showing you guys this one. I'd swear that day I had it out on the Poison Adrena, it just had this extra noise on retrieve that not even this reel, none of these reels that I've got now have. So I'm like, I don't know if maybe why'd I like that MG Extreme 2 so much back in the day, but I took it off. And every time I I was watching that video. He was out. I think it was just like practice day 1, 2, and 3, and he was talking about like speeding up, slowing down, and different stuff on how I practice or whatever. And I'm like, my God, man, get some new reels. So Daiwa, if you're listening to this, get hold of Jacob Wheeler and sponsor him, get him some reels. So Brew Tank was talking to me about, and I'm not the guy to talk to about this, by the way. You know, dock fishing and, you know, skipping it up under the dock, right? The only trick that I will tell you to utilize anytime you're trying to, and it's not just skipping, it's also for like pitching, like when you're trying to get a bait to like do this and then go in the water, or do this and then skip. So here, I'm going to try to show you guys how to do this. Now doing it, telling you how to do it, and doing it are two different things. So when you're underhand, whether you're flipping under or you're going to do a hard and let it, or you're doing a side and you're doing that little like, you know, roll cast. When you, like the trick is two things. You got to know when to like let go, right? But you also want to know, and you want to keep the rod, like if you're ever, I'm trying to compare this to, if you're ever, like somebody's taught you how like to, when you throw like a follow through, you know what I'm talking about? So if you just cast and you do that, and you stop, whatever you do, and you stop, well, it's what I call put English. You got to learn how to put English on it. So you can change, just like if you've got a break too tight on something and you make like a cast, and you know how it like it's pulling off to the side or whatever. You can also create that by moving your rod, like it sounds so simple, but the way you want the bait to go, move your rod that way, and just the drag of the line as it's coming off kind of just helps it. It's not going to move it like a long ways, so left or right on certain cases, but then up and down. So if you're underhand, like trying to pitch it under something or just pitch it to a spot, as you let go, you can do a couple things. You can just like maybe not even be feathering the spool, but you can kind of raise the rod up, even if you got to raise it like straight up and down by the time you're done, to help hold it up in the air, right? So say you let go and it, you know, you just kind of want to get in the habit of like to where it kind of hovers across the water and not go way too high. Say you're trying to get a subtle landing or you're wanting to skip it. It's kind of the same thing. So as it starts skipping, you can kind of keep that rod up or moving in an upward motion, because if you just do this and stop, if it has any kind of hesitation, it's more likely to backlash your reel, for one. So if you keep that motion going, it's still feeding line out. And so like in a cast like this, even though you did this, you can keep bringing this up, like, whoa, get up there kind of thing. If you you say you let go, or if you let go and it's going, you need it to go more left, just keep going left. It'll help it go that way. So, and when you're casting, if you're right-handed and you cast right, and say you let go to where you feel like it's going to, go too far left, if you actually slow the spool down or do, I don't know. I'd have to get out in an instructional video and be casting to show you, and you watch me what I'm talking about. And I'm not that great at it. I just kind of got some of the basics down on the way you should do it. But if you're struggling with skipping under docks, it's honestly, you're just trying too hard, because it is easy to do. It's hard to do and get good at the accuracy. Skipping rocks, skipping baits is actually easy to do. What happens is you'll get paranoid about going to backlash. So you either have your brakes set too tight, or you're trying to cast too hard because you're like, well, I just cast it hard enough, it'll just skip flying or whatever. So it's just one of those where honestly the best thing to do is to go out on the water and make a cast, say, as far as you think you're going to want to go, and literally wrap a wrap of tape around your spool. Or the other thing is to where you can't backlash any further than after backlash. Or you can honestly take like a band or so, and so you can cast some of your line off and literally pull your spool out, and then wrap, stick this around it, and then stick the spool back in to where it's going to keep the line from coming. That spool may still want to spin, but it's holding the line that's under that, 40 feet, 60 feet of line or whatever. So you may have to untangle a little bit of a mess if you get out there jacking around, or simply if you're around water where you can drive to water, just simply take a reel and only put as much line as you think you're going to cast on it, and then just go out there and jack around until you just get the hang of kind of skipping it. You don't need something to skip it under to learn how to skip. But then once you get out on the water, especially I think brew tank, aren't you in like a kayak? Like I feel I'm not the greatest at any of that skipping under docks. I can do it, but I don't fish anywhere where there's so many docks that I need to get like very efficient at it. So let me read some more comments. Do a video. Yeah, I honestly I don't know. I think skipping with the either or, I don't even know if that part matters. Like what you can do, but then you can set a bait caster where it's not gonna backlash, or like it won't really backlash if you're trying to skip and you just go to skip and it sticks in the water. The problem is you got to put umph into it when you got them set that tight, and then if you want to go any further than what your little skipping thing is, then you got to reach down and dial out all the brake. So it's just one of those. You'll get it, and once you do, you'll be like, "This is some of the easiest like stuff to do." Accuracy, in my opinion, with skipping is where it comes in, because usually what never fails with me, like you don't just have a dock where there's a pole here, a pole here, pole there, pole there. Usually it's you got this black floaty thing here, black floaty thing here, and there's this little hole right here. And you try to turn and get, because I can't just go at any angle and get a good, like get it to skip under there. And so I'll be honest, a lot of times all I do is I aim for that. And if it skips once or twice, fine. If it doesn't, I'm just fishing it right there wherever it hits. So I try to get mine to hit, right about where it needs to start. I'm not really one to like try to get and I feel you have to even be better at aiming it if you try to get it to skip, out before you get to right where the edge. So I guess I'll try to aim for the spot at an angle to where it should skip, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. If that makes sense. Now, if you're trying to skip like all the way under dock, there's ways to do that too, but honestly, I think you're better off to just hit it from over here at this angle and get it to skip a little bit there. Now, there's guys that can do it like all the way under, but here's what happens with me. The docks I go to and I get like, whoo, oh man, that was an awesome skip. There's something under there. My bait always hangs up on, like, not always, like 100% of the time, it hangs up 50% of the time, but you know what I'm saying? There's always something unforeseen thing. You got to also watch around docks to keep that in mind. So when I have fish docks, I don't do it enough to be good at skipping and all that kind of stuff. I like that. What I do need to practice more, because I like the idea of it, but sometimes I don't even know if it matters, is coming in and you see this little hole, like there's just an extra little foot cut out on the bank. And I want that bait. Now, here's how I cheat. I'll tell you how I cheat. But I want that bait just to, bloop, like set in, and then I want to start, whether it be with the chatterbait, whether it be with, whatever. So the frog's the easiest thing to do. The easiest way to cheat is just literally throw it to the bank and then drag it out across there. Same way you would if you were working across, pads or, a gunk on the surface kind of thing. You can throw up onto the nasty matted stuff, and you can even do it a lot of times with a bait if it's not too heavy. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a frog. And like a worm, a weightless Senko, a Texas rig, throw it past a hole, pull it up, and then let it drop in the hole, and then wiggle it, and kind of stuff like that. But along the edges of the bank, same kind of way. But what is cool to do is to have the ability when you, sometimes, like with the underhand or with the under, pitch kind of thing, is to, when you get good, you can actually, you basically are letting go, and that bait is literally just a little bit off the surface of the water the whole way, and then right as you get to it, you slow it down like, and it just sets right in. But I'll be honest, I've caught a lot of big fish bombing, and it's usually a chatterbait or spinnerbait, bombing that thing out there, and it hits with like a flunk, and instantly like pow. And I think it's because you dropped it so hard and fast right on their head, they had no choice but to react and bite it, and you catch them. To where if you would have just floated it in, they may have just went, nope, I don't want it. So it's like monkey see, monkey do. Do you do this? Do you do that? Who knows? Okay, we just hit an hour. I probably need to get off here. It's probably, is it after 10? I need to get my Fireball beauty sleep. I'm going to get up. First thing I'm going to do, load up, go get fuel, and get my fuel, not Fireball. On fishing mornings, my favorite thing, even though they're overpriced, is to get the Mean Bean Monster Coffee Energy Drink and the, no, not the Fireball flavor. There's a couple of them, actually. The caramel, salted caramel, and then that's my favorite. The mocha one, I've kind of leaned away from those. A little too chocolatey kind of thing for me. But yeah. Brew Tank just brought up the Wendy's story. So I'm going to finish the story. You guys like to hear stories sometimes. Now, these are all true. Now, they had the door locked, so no Wendy's employees were harmed in this story. But here's a story with Wendy's. So, and to give you, what did I just smash? To give you a quick heads up, years ago, I kind of banned myself from going to Wendy's for like 15 plus years. I just would not, I refused to go eat at Wendy's. People are like, oh, I'll bring you some, but I don't want anything. I don't want to give Wendy's any of my business. So this is, and I will tell you the town. I'm not going to give you the exact, you can probably figure out which one it was. It may still be there. I don't know. So in Raytown, Missouri, not the greatest of neighborhoods, but not a bad neighborhood, especially back then. It wasn't that bad a neighborhood. But in Raytown, Missouri, the Wendy's, we go in there. This is later at night. You know, the lobby's closed. It's locked up for the night. So it had to been, what, 10:30 maybe? 9:30? I don't know. But it's nighttime, summertime, nice weather, windows down anyway kind of thing. You know, didn't really necessarily need AC or anything. I pull up to a Wendy's drive-thru, and I've got my girlfriend with me, who at the time, you know, that's, if you guys know the show and you know Noah, his mom, she's with me. I don't know how loud we're being, or we're, you know, going back and forth, talking, laughing, giggling, you know, carrying on. We're out. I wasn't drinking. I'm driving. I was not drinking. I don't do any drugs. I wasn't doing none of that. Just, we're having a good time. And I don't know, we sat there maybe over 2 minutes, probably closer to 5 minutes in this, like no other cars around, just us in the drive-thru at the speaker. And all of a sudden a voice comes across, "Excuse me, could you keep it down?" And I said, I looked at her and she looked at me and she goes, "What the F did she just say?" And I was like, I think she wants us to be quiet. And this was like, no joke. I thought it was like, you know, I was being punked by Ashton Kutcher, or what's his face was going to pop out, you know, what would you do kind of thing. So John Stossel, whoever that is. So I like literally went, "Are you talking to me?" And she's like, "Yeah, could you keep it down? I'm trying to work in here." Something, you know, said something so like far off. I'm like, so I just let her have it. I said, "Well, shut your effing speaker off." I said, "Or help me out. I'm a customer wanting to order something." Like, gee, like it just set me off the way she come across hollering like, and I mean, she was being rude, loud with me. Could you, you know, just so loud. I'm like, "Are you nuts?" And then, so I don't know what happened after that. I kind of started seeing red. So I tried to get in. I was like, so I called her the B word. I said, "Get your manager. I'm coming around." So I just drove up, went to the door, and I'm knocking on the door. It was locked, of course. And I'm knocking. Manager, this dude comes to the thing. "Well, sir, you know, you were being rude." I said, "That bitch was rude to me." I said, you're lucky that door, you say I can't come in." I said, "I don't want to go to jail tonight, but all of you would end up." Oh man, she had me hot. But when you're, first of all, when you hire these young kids that are just so like, I don't know, and it's only gotten worse since then. Like, honestly, they just have this air of like, they're the most important things on this earth. Same thing happened to me today with this lady. And it's not, but let me take that back. Yes, the young kids, but guess what? This is the old folks too. There's just like this entitlement thing is so overboard nowadays. It's ridiculous. But this was back like 20 years ago, probably. Let me see. So it was a long time before Noah was even thought of. So probably 20 plus years ago is when this actually took place at the Wendy's. But in my opinion, first of all, I mean, so we're like, after this went down, we're like driving back laughing. Like, I'm like, what was she thinking? Like, am I in the wrong? She's like, no, like she was so rude and had no reason. We can talk, it's a free country, first of all. And yeah, I've chased people out of Walmart parking lots before, guys. I'm telling you, back in my heyday, like most of you guys and most of the people I'm actually known around, like I know nowadays, only known me since my old age, like since my 40s and 50s. Trust me, Charles knows me. Charles, from my early teens, 20s into the 30s. Oh, I was a little out there. Now, I never did go around causing trouble, but like I've chased people through Walmart parking lots in vehicles, a little road rage, no big deal. I've chased people down the street because they thought they were tough, but they weren't tough. The two guys and one of them's girlfriend, because she hit me with a purse, and so I told her, I don't know if they were both her boyfriend. I don't know what the deal was, but yeah, I was chasing three people down the street in the middle of the night before. I've had a few wild times back in my heyday. Now it's calm. When I drink Fireball, I'm just mellow, relaxed. But today, I had two people. Like if you get a job driving a vehicle and you're on the road 8 to 10 hours a day, trust me, what you will see will blow your mind. But during work today and then on the way to the movie tonight, I had two entitled people thought that they have the right to just basically do what they want. So I ran into this lady. I didn't run into her because I was paying attention. I'm in the middle of BFE out in this little town, and I'm, four-way light, and I'm waiting to go straight, and this lady's over here, and she's got her turn signal on. And I'm not like slow on the gas. So, but I hesitate, I guess, longer than she wanted me to hesitate, because as soon as that light turned, and it just turns like green. It doesn't even have signal. It's such a small little area. You either got a green light or you don't. There's no turn signal. Somebody go left, or it doesn't do that. So as soon as our light went green, she just gassed it. So I started to go. I'm like, this lady cut me off, and she's giving me that look. You know what I'm talking about. The people, they're totally in the wrong, giving you a look like, what in the world are you doing? I was like, oh my God. If she'd have met me in my 20s, wouldn't have been a good thing. And then the guy, this was an old man. This was an older gal too, probably a little bit younger than me, with some old lady, probably her mom or grandma in the passenger seat in a minivan. They're the worst ones. But then a dude probably it was a PT Cruiser, one of them little funky looking things, was behind me tonight. And, so you're going there's a left lane, but there's literally, it's not concrete, but there is a line that tells you when you can get into that lane, right? So I've got my turn signal on. I'm literally tires riding that line to get there. And now the corner, I kind of spot like headlights in the mirror. I look back, and this dude is like, he's already there trying to come up. I'm like, dude, like we're going to the movies. It's not like we're in that big a hurry. Like, slow down. Because if anybody knows me, you could ask Charles or people that know me. Still to this day, I do not drive the speed limit. I'm going either over the speed limit by like 4 miles an hour or the speed limit. I don't go under the speed limit. So if you come flying by me, you're going real fast. And I just like, what is it? What is it? The full moon? Is it the moon? Is fishing going to be real good tomorrow? Because people are nuts out here. I'll find out if fishing's real good. I'm just going to be driving around at night before I go fishing and see how nutty people are. See if it's even worth going fishing. So anyway, I guess I'll get out of here and I was going to try to do a live stream while I'm out on the water, but I don't even know what it will come out like. I barely got the live stream going tonight, and I think it's just because of, I'll be honest, I think it's AI and Elon Musk. I think they're the cause. Now, it could just be the fact that I think it's probably Google Fiber. They came in throwing all these wires down and all of a sudden everything sucks, right? It's the Apple iPhone. It's if somebody told me, which you'll probably never see me own an Apple anything nowadays, but they literally slow down the older phones to make you buy the new phones, and they tell you they do that, and you guys keep buying them. I don't know what to tell you guys. But I think that, and you guys, maybe some of you are tech savvy. What would it take for me, whether no matter what phone I have, because I keep seeing this thing that they talk about Elon Musk, the Starlink thing, right? Can I rig up something like that to where I've got a basically full on ability to kick on? It's going to be a very clear deal to where I could actually go out and live stream while I'm out fishing. Cause that's honestly what I'd like to do. You know, just be on, like, if the bite kicks on, be like, man, here, let's show these guys like live action catching them kind of thing. If the bite sucks, then no. You guys be like, well, Charlie ain't done live stream in a while. He must not be catching anything. So anyway, I will keep you guys posted on what we do. I'm going to try. I can't, depends on how long we stay fishing. I may not have time jacking around with doing a live stream tomorrow night. So if I get done early enough, maybe, but then I'll try to do one Sunday night, because I'm going to try to go Sunday somewhere doing something fishing also, and I'll have a ton of GoPro footage I'll have to edit and try to get into videos. Luckily and I don't know if you guys even liked it or not, but I put all those spinnerbait things together and put it in the computer. I didn't do any extra editing though, so I basically took clips straight from the GoPro. You know, I've got these little tools in there. I can add the 2 clips and have them, you know, I can cut out 5 seconds from the end and this end. Then I can put like a little fade away that fades back to the next thing. I can put little header, you know, Bass and Bonsai, spinnerbait fishing. Everything I add to that just makes it, spreads out how long it takes to turn into a video. And my computer, just after a certain amount, it spits it back out. It's the weirdest thing. So what I just tried was I put all those together and like, oh God, like 50 some minutes. So I didn't do any other editing other than just sticking them all in one. And then I hit export and it worked. It came through. So then I just put it out and I try to keep them to where I can edit them down to either 20 to 25 minutes. It's like comes out for sure every time, no problem. And I can add a few little special effect type things to it and it's not a big deal. Anything over that, I just have to throw the footage on there, and so some of it might be a little janky. That's probably my laptop. I don't have a full on. I need to it's however long I've been doing Bass and Bonsai is when I first went out and got that computer, got it set up to be able to do what I do. And then now it's old, outdated. Just like I talked about with the iPhone and all that, they just, oh man, you got to have 5G, 8G, 10G, 25,000G, or you just can't get with the program. And it's like, dude, well, how did it work in 4K 10 years ago at 2G? Well, no, it's different. It's a different world now. It's like you guys just want to spend money. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned. A lot more coming. A lot more. Hopefully a lot more big fish catching. I would make a call, but I'm knock on wood on how big a fish I'll catch tomorrow, but I probably won't catch a big fish if I do that. So we'll just keep it honest and wait and see how big a fish I catch playing around with it. I guarantee I'm going to catch more fish than I did in that spinnerbait video because we didn't catch nothing. See you guys later. Get out and go Bass and Bonsai. But whatever you do, make sure you have fun doing it. And if you have the ability to drink a little Fireball, never hurts as long as you're not driving. If you're riding or out in a boat and you're the passenger, go for it, dude.